Hello, and welcome to the AMHigley Safety Orientation video. In this video, you will learn about potential hazards on a job site, as well as how to abate those hazards. We will also go over some general do's and don'ts around the job site, and how to conduct yourself in certain situations. Let's jump right in. Moving along with some more general information. If OSHA, EPA, or any media personnel, such as writers or newscasters, show up to the job site for any reason, please redirect them to a member of the project management team. If you are asked to comment on anything by a member of the media, politely decline and redirect them to management personnel. A competent person is defined as one who is capable of identifying existing and predictable hazards in the surroundings or working conditions which are unsanitary, hazardous, or dangerous to employees, and who has authorization to take prompt corrective measures to eliminate them. AMHigley is not responsible for appointing competent persons for subcontractors on a job site. It is the subcontractor's responsibility to appoint their own competent persons. All safety documentation will be completed and uploaded in HammerTech. This is the software system that AMHigley uses to keep track of orientations, inspections, trainings, and meetings. Through your smartphone or iPad, you will be able to browse the HammerTech website and submit different documents to AMHigley. Each week, toolbox trainings and weekly huddles must be completed and submitted. Additionally, equipment inspections, trench inspections, hot work permits, confined space permits, and excavation permits must be completed before first use or work begins. QR codes are posted in the job trailer that will take you directly into HammerTech to complete the various inspections, permits, or forms. If you are a foreman for your company, our AMHigley superintendent will add you as a nominated representative, so you have access to upload the required documentation. After the orientation, please get with the superintendent so they can show you how to complete and upload the required paperwork while on site. Thorough instructions on how to use HammerTech can be found under the Documents tab. We do enforce a safety violation policy. A Category 1 safety violation simply means that the exposure to a hazard, if not corrected immediately, could result in an incident leading to serious injury, significant property damage, or in extreme cases, death. Examples are lack of fall protection for anyone working at or above 6 feet, improperly protecting trenches and excavations, not following confined space procedures, lockout-tagout procedures, etc. Your first offense of a Category 1 hazard violation will result in suspension from the job site for the rest of the day, plus the following workday. This is for all AMHigley projects your employer is currently on. You will need retrain prior to resuming work, along with submitting documentation of the retraining. The employee supervisor will receive a Category 2 violation for lack of oversight to the employee not following work procedures or from failing to set up the worker with proper equipment. Upon your second offense, you will be suspended indefinitely from all AMHigley projects. Our other type of violation is a Category 2 violation. This category entails a hazard that, if not corrected immediately, could lead to injury or minor property damage. Your first offense will lead to a written warning. Second offense will lead to another written warning. Third offense will lead to a suspension from the project for the rest of the day, plus the following workday. Examples include failing to wear PPE, not having silica engineering controls in place, ladder usage, and more. Violations stay on your worker profile for 1 year, but may stay on for longer periods due to the severity of the hazard. If 3 or more workers are found without PPE, a violation will be issued to the foreman for lack of oversight to the employees not following work procedures. Lastly, failure to sign and acknowledge any safety violation will result in immediate suspension from all AMHigley projects. When setting up a job site, one of our greatest priorities is public safety. We must take necessary actions needed to protect and maintain the public use of roadways, sidewalks, entryways into buildings, lobbies, corridors, and more. Roadwork must be set up correctly with barricades, signage, and reflective devices. When necessary, sidewalks shall be protected with sidewalk sheds, canopies, catch platforms, fences, guardrails, barricades, shields, and more. If we must obstruct the use of sidewalks, ramps, stairs, or walkways, we must create a new temporary safe route for the public to use. Appropriate signage shall be posted around the job site. Signs posted on fencing around job sites may say the site is a construction area, no weapons allowed, no smoking allowed, PPE required, and more. It is important to make clear to the public that there is a construction site ahead of them and there is restricted means of access. Proper housekeeping reduces unnecessary and avoidable hazards such as slip, trip, and fall hazards. Cleaning your work area routinely will help eliminate slip, trip, and fall hazards for you and those around you. When sweeping debris and dust, always use sweeping compound, HEPA vac, or water misting to control airborne dust. Refer to the manufacturer spec sheet and guidelines on how much sweeping compound to use per the square foot area. Impalement hazards shall also be protected on a job site. This includes, but is not limited to, rebar, steel form pins, nails and debris, and more. Anytime you are using stairwell pan treads that are not filled in as a means of access to another level, you must temporarily fill in the pans to eliminate tripping hazards. We require anyone that is on a job site to always wear PPE. Your helmet and safety glasses shall always be worn. If you wear prescription glasses, they shall be ANSI Z87 rated for impact resistance with side shields. When working at a decibel level at or greater than 85, you should be wearing hearing protection. A good rule of thumb to know whether you are working at a decibel level greater than 85 is if you must raise your voice to have a conversation with someone. Activities that commonly raise decibel level to this point are drilling, chipping, grinding, and cutting. We require a Class 1 high visibility vest when working near moving equipment or vehicle traffic. You shall always wear shirts with sleeves, heavy denim or equivalent trousers, and boots with substantial soles. Tree clearing tasks require a helmet, hearing protection, full face shield, leg protection such as chaps, and work gloves. Continuing on the subject of PPE, here are some of AMHigley's helmet requirements. Workers are required to wear YIN 12492 or ANSI Type 2 helmets. These helmets shall have a strap attached to them that shall be buckled around the chin at all times with no more than 2 finger widths of slack between the strap and chin. If you do not have one of these helmets, notify your supervisor immediately following the conclusion of this presentation, and one will be provided at the cost equal to AMHigley's cost. A fire extinguisher must be within 100-foot travel distance of any work and clearly visible with a monthly and annual inspection tag. When inspecting the fire extinguisher, check accessibility, examine the physical state, check the gauge, look for damage, and make sure to sign off on the fire extinguisher inspection tag when finished. All flammable or combustible liquids must be stored in an appropriate container. No more than 25 gallons of flammable liquids shall be stored in a room outside of an approved storage cabinet. Gasoline and diesel must be stored in a metal gas container with a flame arrestor. No plastic gas storage cans are permitted. A fire extinguisher must be located no closer than 25 feet and no further than 75 feet from the storage area. Carbon monoxide monitors must be used when any powered equipment or fuel-powered heaters are used indoors. When not in use, all compressed gas cylinders must be stored upright, secured, and with valve caps in place. Additionally, all oxygen cylinders must be separated from fuel cylinders by at least 20 feet or by a 5-foot tall non-combustible barrier with a half-hour fire rating. If fuel storage tanks are to be utilized, they must be protected from vehicle traffic by jersey barriers and equipped with a spill kit and be bonded and grounded. When using hand or power tools, it is important to use them only for their intended purpose. Otherwise, tools can pose a hazard. Tools being used shall not have any defects, otherwise they shall be removed from service. If a tool is designed to accommodate guarding, then guarding shall be used. For example, table saws must always have guards in place. Do not throw tools as means of transferring them from one place to another. Do not raise or lower a tool by using its power cord. If operating a powder-actuated tool, discard unspent and partial cartridges in a bucket of water until ready to dispose of properly. Any defective tools must be red tagged and removed from service. Before using a ladder, always inspect the ladder prior to use. Make sure you check for the load capacity rating. If you cannot find this label, it must be taken out of service. Inspect the ladder for missing or loose rungs or steps, damaged slip feet, cracks, corrosion, spreaders, holes, and do not fasten anything to the ladder. Do not use a ladder outside of its intended purpose. This includes not standing on the top cap or top step of a portable ladder. Do not use a portable ladder in the lean position unless it was designed to be used for that purpose, such as a lean-safe ladder. When using an extension ladder, ensure it is set up correctly using the 4-to-1 rule. For every 4 feet the ladder rises, the base needs to be 1 foot away from the wall. This allows for maximum stability. When an extension ladder is used for access to an upper landing surface, the ladder side rails must extend at least 3 feet above the upper landing surface to which the ladder is used to gain access and secured to a rigid support. Always maintain 3 points of contact on the ladder when climbing. Keep your body near the middle and always face the ladder. Anytime there is a break in elevation of 19 inches or more, a ladder or stairway must be provided. Moving into electrical hazards. When using extension electrical cords, there are a few things you should be looking for. The biggest issue we see with electrical cords is a lack of general organization. Cords shall be organized in a manner that will not damage the cords. This means things like not laying the cords on metal track or pinching them indoors. Cords shall also be organized in a manner that keeps them from posing housekeeping issues such as tripping hazards. All cords, temporary heating lines for the winter months, and any others shall be elevated with quick hooks or other non-conductive material to prevent a trip hazard. All cords shall be equipped with a grounding pin, and there shall also be no insulation damage or tape repairs to the cords. Do not daisy chain cords. When an energized electrical junction box is present, it shall be protected from accidental contact as well as water with a cover plate on. All electrical cabinets and panels shall be locked, have a locked electrical room door, or individually lock and tag out each breaker. Also, there shall be no debris restricting access to the area. All temporary lighting power splices shall be protected from incidental contact. If using welding cables, ensure they are a minimum distance of 10 feet from the welding lead end to which the electrode holder is connected. Unless the repair's quality is equal to that of the cable, repaired cables are not permitted. Approved repairs are those that are repaired with rubber and friction tape or other equivalent insulation. When a demo operation is taking place, power shall be de-energized and lockout tag-out should be utilized. All demo laborers and electricians shall always carry a voltage tester on them to test for an energized circuit. Moving along with fall protection. Anytime you are planning on working from heights, a pre-work meeting and a job hazard analysis must take place to discuss tasks, hazards, and how your company plans to eliminate and control the hazards. There is no safe distance from an unprotected side or edge that would render fall protection unnecessary. We require anyone working at or above 6 feet to have a fall protection plan, whether it be a guardrail or a personal fall arrest system or restraint system which consists of an anchorage, body wear, and connecting device. This also includes working at or above 6 feet on scaffolding and steel erection. You must be tied off 100% of the time when working at a height at or greater than 6 feet when a guardrail is not present. Also, you are required to have a rescue plan in place if somebody would fall. There is a limited amount of time to rescue someone in the event they have a fall, so it is better to have the rescue plan devised prior to the fall rather than during the rescue. When you are using a personal fall arrest system, your anchorage point must be able to support 5,000 pounds of force per person attached. When using a temper hinge anchor or other types, always refer to the manufacturer instruction manual to know what the anchor capabilities are and what it is designed for, such as wood, metal, or concrete. Also, know which type of fastener to use, how many fasteners are required, and the correct layout of the fasteners on the anchor, so the anchor will meet the 5,000 pounds of force. Inspect your fall protection equipment before you use it each time. Ensure your body harness impact indicator shows no signs of deployment, no corrosion, cuts, burns, paint damage, and is adjusted correctly with dorsal D-ring between your shoulder blades. Ensure the connecting device is rigged such that an employee cannot free fall more than 6 feet. Body harness must be equipped with suspension trauma straps. Should warning lines be chosen as the fall protection plan? They shall be a minimum of 15 feet back from the unprotected side or edge, unless you are a roofer, in which they can be 6 feet from the unprotected side or edge. Guardrail systems are in place with top rail at 42 inches plus or minus 3 inches and can support 200 pounds in any outward or downward direction. Mid-rail can support 150 pounds, and a toe board at 3.5 inches and can support 50 pounds of force. If using wire rope as guardrail, it must be flagged at 6-foot intervals. Any openings 30 inches or higher and 18 inches or wider in a wall or partition shall be protected. Any gaps, voids, or holes 2 inches or more shall be covered, secured, and labeled as hole, cover, or they shall be color-coded. They shall also be capable of supporting twice the weight of employees, equipment, and materials. If you don't believe that you can safely achieve 100% fall protection, talk to a member of the safety team prior to starting work. We will work with you to figure something out safely and effectively. When using scaffolding, there are a few key points to keep in mind. First, scaffold shall be inspected and documented prior to every shift. When erecting or dismantling scaffolding, a competent person needs to be on site to inspect and ensure the procedures are safe. When erecting or dismantling scaffolding, a personal fall arrest system shall be used, unless it is deemed infeasible. Guardrails or a personal fall arrest system is required when working at 6 feet or greater. Your personal fall arrest system must be equipped with a self-retracting lifeline. This is to ensure your safety in the event of a fall. Scaffolds and their components shall be capable of supporting, without failure, at least 4 times the maximum intended load. Also, scaffold shall be set up correctly with proper cross braces, base plates, fully planked, pins in place, lock casters, and mud sills if necessary. Outriggers are for personal use, not for storage of materials, and shall be equipped with end gates or guardrails. Access to the ladder to climb a scaffold shall not be more than a 2 feet step up, and access to step onto a platform shall be no more than 14 inches. When set up, guardrails shall be present on all sides of the scaffold, including scaffold ends and material loading stations. Planks shall extend 6 inches over the edges of the scaffold, and they shall overlap each other by 12 inches. Minimum power line distance shall be no less than 10 feet. Now let's talk about some general information about mobile elevating work platforms, which are scissor and boom lifts. In order to operate a mobile elevating work platform, you must be a trained and qualified person. A daily inspection of a mobile elevating work platform is also required to be completed in HammerTech. We also require that anyone working in a scissor lift be anchored when they are working at or above 6 feet in a lift. When working in a boom lift, you shall always be anchored with a self-retracting lifeline, not a 6-foot shock-absorbing lanyard. All mobile elevating work platforms shall have an annual inspection that takes place once every 13 months, as well as a frequent inspection which takes place every 3 months, or every 150 hours of operation, whichever comes first. If the lift does not have this inspection, contact your supplier. Do not stand on the toe board, mid-rail, or top rail of the lift. Do not place material in the bottom of a boom lift to prevent airflow, such as ridge foam board. Do not screw any materials to the lift frame. Only a manufacturer glazier kit is allowed to be fastened to a boom lift to reduce manual work for carrying material to heights. If using a glazing kit, ensure the load is secured to the lift when transporting materials. Also, when operating a boom lift, maintain a clear area around the base and circumference of the boom lift to prevent any tools or falling objects from landing on crew members and personnel. The boom lift circumference is often quite large and shall be caution taped to keep the area clear. Communicate closed areas, doorways, and new pathways with signage with all employers. Always ensure that you have a minimum clearance from power lines of at least 10 feet. Just like mobile elevating work platforms, heavy equipment shall be inspected daily and documented in HammerTech prior to using. If you are operating a forklift, you shall be a trained and qualified person. When operating heavy equipment, follow the manufacturer's requirements and always wear your seatbelt. All operators are required to wear safety glasses while in the equipment cab and shall not smoke in the cab. When you are working in an area where heavy machinery is being used, you are required to wear Class 1 high visibility vest to ensure the best chance for the operator to see and avoid you. When operating heavy equipment, always ensure that you have a minimum clearance from power lines of at least 10 feet. Hot work is any work that uses or causes flames or sparks. This includes burning, welding, cutting, grinding, cutting metal studs with a chop saw, and more. When conducting hot work, a hot work permit must be completed each day it is being performed. When performing any kind of hot work, you should have a fire extinguisher ready at the location where the work is being carried out. Welding curtains and spark shields shall be used when necessary. A dedicated fire watch shall be present at all welding operations and remain for 30 minutes after work is completed. People performing hot work and people working around hot work shall be in proper PPE, such as welding hoods or full-face shields. Crystalline silica is a common mineral that is found in construction materials such as sand, stone, concrete, brick, and mortar. When workers cut, grind, drill, or crush materials that contain crystalline silica, very small dust particles are created. These tiny particles can travel into workers' lungs and cause silicosis, an incurable and sometimes deadly lung disease. No dry sweeping silica dust is allowed. This poses the same hazard as exposing dust by cutting. You must have either a respirator or a dust suppression system, such as spraying water on airborne dust. Follow the Table 1 standard for guidance. If the task being carried out is not in Table 1, then an exposure assessment shall be conducted. Mixing mortar, concrete, or other self-leveling material products are not activities that are covered in Table 1. When working with mixing towers, an exposure assessment must be conducted or objective data can be used. The objective data must reflect workplace conditions closely resembling or with a higher exposure potential than the processes, types of material, control methods, work practices, and environmental conditions in the employer's current operations. A respirator must be worn when working with a mixing tower until the results from the exposure assessment come back, and a fit test must be completed prior to use. When setting up your mixing tower, be sure to set it up downwind of where other trades are working to minimize risk for other people. If weather conditions change or the number of mixing bags used per day increases, then a new exposure assessment must be completed. Now for a little bit about trenching and excavating. Before beginning an excavating task, an excavation permit shall be completed to identify the utilities with markings. This can be done by calling the underground utility services. Afterwards, a daily inspection must be completed by a competent person. Once the utilities are located, hydrovac when within 36 inches and every 50 feet to ensure the utility location has remained the same. Now that the area has been surveyed with markings, it's time to conduct a visual and a manual test. This will help to determine the soil type, A, B, or C, which will also help you determine what type of protection will be needed. Remember, type A is 3/4:1 ratio. Type B is a 1:1 ratio. Remember, to bench correctly in type E soil, add the first vertical wall with the second vertical wall to get the first horizontal bench shelf. Type C is a 1.5:1 ratio. Type C soil is not a cohesive soil, so benching is not allowed in this soil. Ensure the trench box tabulated data is on site, and the maximum distance between the bottom of the trench box and the bottom of the trench shall be no more than 2 feet. Keep spoil piles at least 2 feet back from the excavation or trench. Walkways shall be provided where employees or equipment are required or permitted to cross over excavations 6 feet or more in depth and wider than 30 inches at the top. Anytime rain, snow, and environmental conditions change, another daily inspection must be completed again as weather can change the characteristics of the soil. This checklist can be found in HammerTech. When working in trenches at 4 feet or greater, a means of egress is required every 25 feet of horizontal travel in the trench. When working at 5 feet or greater, a means of protection is needed. An example of this would be sloping, benching, shoring, or shielding with a trench box, or other options deemed safe for the soil type by the competent person. Daily crane inspections are required and can be found in HammerTech. The daily inspection shall be filled out by a competent person before each shift. When a crane is being erected or dismantled, anyone working on the crane from a height of 6 feet or greater must be protected from fall hazards. A critical lift is any lift where the weights are at or over 75% of the rated capacity of the crane and rigging. Critical lift procedures and documentation are required to be submitted for approval prior to the lift. Only qualified crane, signal, and rigging person shall perform such procedures. Ensure outriggers are fully extended, cribbed, and on sturdy ground. Keep crane swing radius barricaded, and ensure taglines are used on loads. Be sure there are no overhead obstructions and workers are clear of the overhead flight path. If crane is near power lines, keep appropriate distance. Remove any defective equipment from service. Ensure rigging equipment is inspected and tagged prior to use. Any equipment with tears, frays, kinks, worn spots, etc. should be removed from service immediately. Moving along into confined space. A confined space is a space that is large enough and so configured that an employee can bodily enter it, has limited or restricted means for entry and exit, and is not designed for continuous employee occupancy. All three criteria must be met for a space to be considered a confined space. Common examples of confined spaces include, but are not limited to, manholes, crawl spaces, tanks, silos, elevator pits, electrical cabinets, air handling units, attics, etc. Just like many other tasks, you shall fill out the pre-work form when entering a confined space. Reach out to the safety manager, and they will assist you in filling this form out. This form will help you determine if the confined space is deemed a non-permit entry, alternate entry reclassification, or permit required entry. Based upon which of these categories your space falls into, it will help you determine what equipment you will need and what precautions to take when entering a confined space. If it is a permit-required space, the permit must be posted at the entrance of the confined space to ensure there is no confusion for workers entering the space. When working in hot temperatures, it is important to remember to avoid heat illness. Heat illness is caused when your body cannot adequately cool itself off. These situations arise in hot and humid temperatures. Some easy ways to prevent heat illness are drinking plenty of water or sports drinks, wearing light-colored clothing, avoiding caffeine throughout the day as it can cause dehydration, and take frequent breaks in a cool and shaded area. When someone is experiencing heat illness, the most common signs are confusion, headache, nausea, dizziness, heat rash, hot skin, cramps, and a lack of sweat. At 80 degrees Fahrenheit, your employer must provide cold water for you to drink and allow you to take brief breaks in the shade throughout the shift. If you are completely new to working outside in the heat, we recommend the use of the 20% acclimation method. This method means if your first workday is on a Monday, only work at 20% of the shift's full intensity. Then increase your workload by 20% each day until fully acclimated. Tuesday will be 40%, Wednesday at 60%, Thursday at 80%, then Friday will be a 100% workload. This is important because nearly 3 out of 4 heat illness fatalities occur in the first week on the job. We will wrap up with hazard communication. Prior to reporting to site, your office has submitted all the safety data sheets for any chemicals you will be using. These forms can be accessed by all workers by visiting the HammerTech project website. This can also be accessed by rescanning the orientation QR code. If any chemical is to be transferred or mixed in a secondary bottle, like a small spray bottle, that secondary container must also have the appropriate globally harmonized system label. When using chemicals on site, they must be used in accordance with the provided safety data sheet without affecting users or surrounding workers. Additionally, please read the safety data sheet in order to follow any PP, ventilation, or storage requirements. Keep in mind, if the safety data sheet requires a respirator, you must be fit tested by your employer. Finally, if any unforeseen hazardous or suspicious materials such as asbestos, lead, mold, or any other materials are discovered during demolition or other tasks, stop work and notify AMHigley immediately. This concludes the video portion of the orientation. Please contact your superintendent at this time so they can review your quiz, approve your orientation, and review the site-specific information which includes the AED location, first aid kit, eye wash station, rally points for both internal and external locations, entrances and exits, smoking area if the project has one, parking, location of shaded area for heat illness prevention, toilets and hand wash area, local hospital, dumpster location, food waste, restricted areas, hazardous areas, such as asbestos, lead, hazardous chemicals. AMHigley promotes a stretch and flex program, client requirements, and assigns safety manager. Finally, if you are a foreman for your crew, meet with the superintendent to review the HammerTech information. Thank you for your attention and stay safe.